Hazing in Greek organizations. Why is it still happening today? Next on Issues and Insights.
This is what is making news right now. As attacks continue.
The question on all our minds, will giant bugs take over the city?
This is as close as we dare go to this huge plume.
A massive kill of wildlife in the state of Arkansas.
This is not a nice little bonfire like we had earlier.
Who are trying to calculate the exact amount of oil coming out of there.
Welcome to Issues and Insights, and today I'm here with Dana Lawrence and Michelle Morisi, and today we're going to discuss why is there still hazing going on in Greek organizations, still happening today. So my first question for you guys is, how would you describe hazing in your own words?
So hazing for me is when a small group of people want to join a larger group and they're forced to normally do dangerous acts that they wouldn't normally be doing, that they don't want to be doing. It's a form of peer pressure, but on a much larger scale and a dangerous one.
I would describe hazing as any harsh activities or brutal acts, humiliation, or even abuse caused to other people that want to be part of a group.
Now that you say that hazing, is a peer pressure and abuse, well, would you consider it emotional, physical, or verbal abuse?
All three. A lot of people that are subjected to hazing usually end up with a lot of psychological trauma, not just physical. It's emotional, mental, physical, everything.
I agree. I think that even sometimes when you're not physically abused during the hazing process, just being yelled at or being put down, just being talked to like less than or treated like less than you are is emotional abuse. So I think that all three happen.
So, with Greek organizations, they use hazing as this form of power almost. So do you believe that's what they use it for, as a form of power, because they know they can control someone to do what they want to do because they want to get into this organization and become like a brother or sister, as they would consider it?
Well, yeah, so a lot of people, when they go to join these Greek organizations, they're going with the idea that they're thinking like, well, the person before me did this. If I don't do it, I'm going to be thought of less than the other brothers. I won't be accepted, or sisters. I won't be accepted. I won't be equal. I won't have the same rights that everyone else does. I won't be able to ask questions. I'll be humiliated. I just won't be accepted. And they want to be accepted. They want to be as a part of that group as everyone else is. So they don't think about the fact that they're being hazed. They don't really think about it or care about it at that time because they just want to be a part of that group so badly. And that's so bad.
I think it's definitely a power trip. They know that the people coming in want to do everything that they can to be in that organization, and they know that they can take it far. And so I think they definitely know that they're in a position of power, and they also know what they went through. And if you went through hazing and now you're on the other side of it, I think they get a little bit of gratification by doing it to someone else. It's finally their chance to do it to someone else because they went through it. So it's definitely a power thing.
So why do you think that people still continue to join, fraternities or sororities? Because there is a possibility that they will be hazed. Is it for, like you said, I'm finally in, I've been working hard, I just want to get in, or do you think it might be other reasons?
No, I think that's one of the reasons. Then also the alumni network that you gain through certain Greek life organizations or sport networks or anything like that. But some people, when they're joining these organizations, they're doing it because their parents did it, or their brothers or sisters did it, or somebody in their family, or somebody that they looked up to, like a best friend or an athlete that they were with growing up. So they want to be a part of that organization just as much as they want to be that person that they look up to, or they want to follow in footsteps.
I think the biggest reason why people still join, although they hear these stories about these awful hazings that go on, even that lead to death, but they still want to join because I think for them, they're thinking of it as that's just a short part of it. That's just a little part of it. So if I can just get past that hazing, once I get to the other side, I'm going to have more friends. I'm going to have these people I can call my family, a bigger social network. These people are going to love me afterwards, and they'll advocate for me, and they'll help me get jobs or whatever the case may be. So they think, the hazing is just a little part of it. It won't be that bad because once I get to the other side, it'll be so much better.
Because that they use this, they go and ask because they want more friends and everything. Do you think it's because like a psychological thing that is like hindering them from telling them to keep going?
So I know a lot of my friends rushed Greek organizations because they felt like going into a giant university, they weren't going to be able to make as many friends. So they figured joining a Greek life org, they were having brothers, they were having sisters that they were going to have for life, as you said. Mm-hmm. So they went for it because they wanted that group. They wanted to feel accepted within a university that was so grand.
Okay, so we're just going to stop right there. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Take my hand and start a brand new day.
Underneath everything we are all people. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Welcome back to Issues and Insights. I'm your host, Armani, and I'm still here talking to Dana and Michelle. So another one of my questions was, do you think hazing stops others from joining Greek organizations?
Yeah, I do think so, just because I know a lot of people are scared or maybe smart to not get involved. I think it does stop a lot of people from going into it just because they have an idea or they think they know what they're going to get. A lot of people don't want to be hazed, obviously, so
very true.
Nobody wants to. It's just some people won't go and rush that sorority with the fear that they are going to be hazed, although not all Greek life organizations do haze. It's just you don't necessarily know which ones do and which ones don't until you're already pledging.
I think hazing definitely stops people from joining these Greek organizations. Some people don't care, but I think a lot of people do. I know personally I cared. When I went to Howard University, the sorority that I planned on pledging was actually suspended the first 2 years that I was there because of hazing, and that scared me a lot. I didn't know exactly what happened to cause them to be suspended, but I knew that it was bad enough that they weren't even allowed to have pledges for 2 years. So when they finally did open back up and be reinstated after that third year, I was like, no way. I'd rather not.
Yeah, and that's very true because my old school I went to, Delaware State University, the Qs were actually suspended for 2 years because they did something crazy with hazing, and it's just wild. So I have a statistic, and according to Maryland University, the Stop Hazing program, 95% of students were aware that they were hazed but did not report it. So why do you think there is a code of silence when it comes to hazing, where nobody wants to report it? And, some people are losing their lives because the organization themselves doesn't want to report it, and also the university doesn't want to say anything and wants to keep it hush-hush.
Because universities, for one, don't want to come out and say that they've been kind of supporting these organizations throughout this entire time with hazing because they know that it's going on. They just don't know how to stop it. Students, young adults, don't come out and say that they were hazed because they don't want to be a part of that statistic. However, if you ask a child or a student if they were forced to do something, then they'll usually say yes, because they don't categorize it in their brain as hazing. They categorize it in their brain as like becoming a part of another group. If you ask them if they were hazed, they're almost always going to say no.
Very true.
I agree. So I think that if it's not something totally extreme where people feel like they're being abused, sent to the hospital, you hear all these crazy stories, they don't see it as hazing. When in all actuality, someone yelling at you and putting you down, someone even just pushing you, that's hazing. That's not what's needed to be part of an organization. So for one, sometimes they don't know they're being hazed. And then also, if you've been being hazed or you're online and you're getting closer and closer and closer to your goal, and you see things happening around you that aren't right, you're more likely not to say anything because you're just like, I just need to get through this. This is going to be over soon. You know, I'll be out of this, and then I don't have to worry about it. So, you know, no one wants to be the tattletale, especially, you know, if you've grown with these people that you're online with and you guys are supposed to be brothers or sisters. You don't want to be that person that tells and then everything kind of goes to waste. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So recently, a student from Delaware State University actually passed away from pledging. He was being sleep deprived, and he got into a serious car accident where he died and another guy died. He was pledging for Kappa Alpha Psi, and they said he was being hit and paddled. And there was 82% related to hazing involving alcohol. So why do you think alcohol is a big factor when it comes to hazing?
Because alcohol is a big thing in college campuses around the world right now. Everyone thinks that alcohol is it's a social gathering. So for fraternities, they feel like the guy that can drink the most is the most macho of the group, is the best brother or something like that. So they force alcohol on the pledges to see which one's the strongest or the biggest guy in that pledge group. And then in the end, so when that line of pledges, they're being force-fed vodka or anything, once they're all inebriated and really bad, then they have to rely on each other to take care of each other. So the idea behind that, at least, is to kind of force the brothers to become closer to each other, even though that's not really what happens in the end. I mean, yeah, the brothers do become very close because you're going through torture with each other, but in the end, it's also very, very dangerous. So alcohol is a way, just because it's kind of so prominent on college campuses at the moment.
yeah, alcohol is definitely a very big thing on college campuses, and also when you're forcing someone to drink alcohol, and once they're inebriated, they're more likely to do the other things that you're telling them to do. So, you know, if you were going to give them a task or you were going to tell them to do something that you know wasn't right, in their right mind, they might stick up for themselves. They might not do it. But once you get them intoxicated, they're more likely to do what you say, which is another reason that I think they do it. And alcohol is a very big factor in hazing. You see a lot of these reports that come out where people are found with like 2, 3, 4, 5 times over the blood alcohol limit that's legal, and it's ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I think it's very, hazing is a touchy subject, but that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you, ladies, for being on the show and talking about hazing. Thank you so much. And that was Issues and Insights.